Hello and welcome to PM Express, and today it's planting for food and jobs. This is one of the biggest initiatives which this new government said was going to implement, and indeed I think they've set the ball rolling with regards to planting for food and jobs. But I don't know how many of you out there, have any ideas as to how it's going, what's happening to this planting for food and jobs. Indeed, are you planting for any food and are you planting for any jobs? I certainly, haven't done that much yet. Today I was sort of ringing around. There were people on the ground who sort of knew what was happening, but generally, I think people haven't bought into the idea as it was in the days of Operation Feed Yourself and backyard gardens, and everybody was putting a seed in a pot, and whatever space you had, you planted something. What's the idea about planting for food and job? Is it the same thing? Is it on a larger scale? Well, who buys after you've planted? Who gets a job after you've planted? I don't know, but I'm yet to find out. I think it's something that we need to interrogate, because there's a lot of money being pushed in this area. And if we are not going to buy into it, and if we don't know what's happening there, then how will it succeed? And indeed, it's one thing that should succeed, because if Ghana has any advantage over anything, it's something to do agrarian. That's the only advantage we have. I don't see us competing in the capital age, the space technology or electronical technology, or even the auto industry. I don't see us becoming a giant. However, with regards to agriculture, we stand a chance to being a world player. Even the little that we're doing, with cocoa, we are number 2 in the world. Can you imagine if we had, 4 or 5 crops that we pay attention to, like cocoa? We definitely will become a player on the world stage. So with agri, we don't joke with it. However, who is buying into it? My name is Nana Ansakwa, the 4th Chief of the Little Republic of Akwamodumasa. I'm told there are a couple of planting for food and jobs going on in my vicinity. So I rang to inquire. But is there any in your vicinity? Stay tuned. When I come back, we are talking about planting for food and jobs. Well, thank you very much for staying. We're talking planting for food and jobs, and my guest in the studio, Edward Kareweh, General Secretary, General Agricultural Workers Union. My brother, looking very fine. I don't even need to ask you how are you. It will be a complete insult to ask how are you. I just say you're looking fine.
Thank you, thank you. And Happy New Year too.
Happy New Year to you too, brother.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, this is your area, so I just thought, I talked to you, and this year I want to do a lot of agric with regards to programming, awareness and education and awareness, because if Ghana stands any chance of becoming a world player in anything, it has to be agric. I don't see us building boats, aeroplanes, cars, motorbikes, So if we are also going to come on the world stage and say, look, we did this, it will be something that we planted. Generally, how has it been accepted in the education and stuff-wise? Because I know, that's your area.
Well, the planting for food and jobs policy or program, eventually caught up in terms of publicity with the populace. But it has even though people got to know about it later on, they could not join it, because by then it is supposed to have started. And even if you got to know about it, you could not indeed join it, because it's not something that any time in the year you can indeed go in and work with it. So, well, the advertisement in terms of publicity later in the year really got to the length and breadth of this country, but I don't think that people had a chance to intervene in the course of it, because the program had already started. So it's not, as for publicity, I think it's well known that we are planting for food and jobs in this country.
You see, I was very young when Operation Feed Yourself came.
Yeah.
Very, very young. And I planted, is it is it water yam or cocoa yam? The one that you plant in soggy.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real soggy. It's called cocoa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cocoa.
Yeah. You know, and I planted cocoa, and you know, it grew, and you know, we harvested it, we fried, and it's really nice when you fry. And that was my contribution to, you know, Operation Feed Yourself.
Yeah.
But I don't see what my contribution will be in this. I mean, I don't know.
Well, times have changed. Ghanaians are more, or Ghana as an economy has moved on. We have had some level of industrialization, some level of urbanization, and then we are now more into importation as against that time. So we have now become more of consumers of other produce than producers. You know, as against that time, we were more of producers as against consumers. Because all that we needed, much of what we needed in this country, we tried to produce it ourselves. And you can recall that it was not only Operation Feed Yourself, it was also about Operation Feed Your Industry. And most of the things that were consumed in this country were also produced. If, in fact, you recall that there were car assembling plants in this country, motorbikes were being produced, bicycles were being produced, Sanyo and all manner of things were being assembled here. Today it's no more like that. Many of those things are now imported. So we are consuming more than we now produce. So when the policy for planting for food and jobs came, yes, it is good. It looks like the Operation Feed Yourself, but they are being implemented at different times, which means that the program will face different challenges. You know, so it's not just about a program being good, but which environment is it being implemented? So if you look at the planting for food and jobs, the challenges that it will face are different from the challenges of Operation Feed Yourself. Let me put it this way. The planting for food and jobs is seeking to increase productivity in agriculture as a beginning. And as it increases productivity, it's also believed that jobs will be created alongside. Now, when you produce today, you have to sell in the market. The market that you are talking about, your own environment, the whole place is occupied by what? Foreign inputs or produce. So when you produce, where do you sell it? You know, that creates a challenge for the program. Because it's not only about production. Production itself is a response to a need. It's a response to the market. When the market is not there, when the need is not there, or that need is constrained by the availability of substitutes, then it affects production. If you disregard the demand in the market or the market and you go ahead and still produce, then of course you will not be able to market it, and then you run at a serious loss. And people are rational. Now, this planting for food and jobs is largely driven by government. And to start with, that about 200,000 farmers would be selected to carry on with this program. And that was done. Beyond that, those who are outside it but have got interest to go into agriculture can now see that, yes, people have actually also gone into agriculture. So by and large, what we are experiencing this year, that is to talk about 2017 up to date, will be that the acreage, the land space that has been used for maize will go up. But you have to ask yourself, has productivity also gone up? And if productivity has not gone up, what have been the causes.
Okay, let me take a quick break here when I come back, because I know that as part of planting for food and jobs, they have good seeds and subsidized fertilizer. So if the acreage goes up, I am sure that, well, we'll find out if indeed production will also go up. Don't go. Well, hello, and thank you for staying. We're talking about the all-important planting for food and planting for jobs. We're talking about maize. Now, I'm told that we have, is it good seeds?
Yeah, improved seeds.
Improved seeds.
Yeah.
And then
subsidized fertilizer.
Subsidized fertilizer.
Yeah.
So it's almost like certainly the production yield, should go up.
Yes. The fact is that all other things being equal, if you have 2 acres of maize plot, what it means is that with the improved seed and subsidized fertilizer, your yield per that 2 acre will go up. All other things being equal. And that is holding all other factors constant. For instance, there's good rain, you have planted at the right time, no insecticides, nothing has disturbed your farm.
Oh, I mean, clearly, you are looking at a 200% better chances than when you had no fertilizer and not improved seeds.
Well, that is why, but the reality on the ground seems to be different from the analysis that we are trying to make now.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. All other things being equal.
But we've had good rains this year.
No. When you talk about good rains, what do you mean?
Well, there was plenty of rain.
Yes, but they may come at the wrong time. They may come at quantities that you do not deserve or you do not need at that particular time. So good rains, it's not just about quantity of water.
You are
it's about the spread.
Union, so you can probably tell me if there were good rains or bad rains.
Yeah, it's about the spread of the rains and then the volumes of the rains.
How was it this year? Was it good or was it bad?
It is not good, because around September, when some of the maize were about tasseling, the rain stopped for about 3 weeks to 1 month or 4 weeks. And that indeed affected those particular crops, particularly maize. So it does not matter before that time how much rain you got. The time that some amount of water is needed or rains are needed for the crops to tassel, the rains never came. So it affected their yield. So when we talk about good rain, we are talking in agriculture here, we are talking about rain that is well spread to the needs of the crops. That is good rain. And you cannot rely on nature to be so kind on you by always doing it the way you want it. But that is the reality that we have on the ground, because our agricultural system is largely rain dependent. So even if you bring all the policies and you implement all the programs, like you provide the good seed, you provide the fertilizer, and the rains do not come at the right time, then of course you have a problem.
Okay, I have on the phone now Felix Mensah, who's an extension officer.
Yeah.
And he's in the Siojamai district, and he covers all the way, covers part of the little Republic of Edumasa as well. So he's an extension officer in my vicinity. So let's find out from him. Felix, hello and welcome.
Thank you, Nana. How are you this evening?
I am very great and very great indeed. I'm very glad you're on my show tonight. I'm very glad you're on my show tonight. But Felix, a little bit curious on planting for food and jobs. Now,
wonderful.
Now, within our area, is planting for food and jobs going on?
Really, it's going on. Yeah. Last year, government started planting for food and jobs. It brought fertilizers, that's NPK and urea. And seed maize, that's maize and vegetable seeds. Tomato, we have tomato seeds. We have onion seeds. We have okra seed, that's okra. And all these seeds and fertilizers were subsidized.
And so where are they? Where are these things you're talking about?
They brought it to our office, the Suejaman District Department of Agriculture. They brought it there, and we communicated it to the farmers, and the farmers came in to buy, and they enjoyed it.
So assuming tomorrow somebody came to the council today, I mean tomorrow, will they get some to buy?
Precisely, we still have the fertilizer subsidized fertilizers, we still have it, but the seeds for vegetables has got finished, but we have seed maize still there, and we have fertilizers still there.
Now see, Felix, I'm concerned, and stay on there, Felix, because look, I'm the chief in the area, and this is the first time I'm hearing that there's seeds somewhere that you can buy.
Yeah, that is the challenge. In some particular places, they rather received what they do not need. For instance, if a particular community, they produce more vegetables, and you send more rice seed to them, or you send maize seed to them, they will not necessarily pick it. So when someone is accounting for it, you say, look, we still have maize seed lying down, but it has gone to the wrong place. But if you go to another community where they need maize seed and they do not get enough, they will run short of maize seed, yet there's maize seed lying somewhere which is not needed.
There isn't enough proper editing in terms of the supply.
These are the challenges that come with implementation, and they are not easily determinable during policy formulation. That is why implementation is more critical, and you need a lot of commitment, and you need a lot of work to ensure that implementation is right. These things will not come in the policy formulation.
So supply is what? Every district, 10 bags maize, 10 bags tomato, 10 bags okra, whereas a district may need 2 bags maize and 20 bags of okra. I don't know.
These are the things. You need to have a system that allows for fast flow of transfer of these seeds from one place to another. If the system does not allow for that type of swift movement of seeds from one locality to another, then of course you will not be able to address the real needs of the people. Because if I need vegetable seed and you bring me maize seed, then of course by the end of the year, around this time, you will still find maize seed there. Then people will say, oh well, we still have it, so if you want, you can come for it. When in the actual fact, it has gone to the wrong place.
Let me speak to you. Felix. Hello, Felix.
Hello, Nana.
Good. Felix, with regards to how the seeds are supplied, I'm sure you have, other extension officers somewhere. Do you get the problem where there are people around areas who probably want more okra, but they got more maize, and there are people who wanted more maize, but they got more tomato? Do you get that supply, miscommunication?
Yeah, thank you, Nana. Before this program commences, we are in the eastern region. Eswejama is in the eastern region.
Sure.
So directors met at Koforidua, and every region communicated the kind of crops that thrives well at their district, or at their district.
Okay.
So let's say a Suejaman district like this, we chose maize and root crops and vegetables. So this is what they brought to us. They brought maize and vegetables. That's what we chose.
Okay.
So maybe as a Sewa we choose different things, and that's what they will provide them. So that is how we went through. So there's no means to bring maybe some seed and it will not be used at your district, because they have met and negotiated about it already. So what they brought to us is what we need and what our farmers need.
Okay. Now, how does it work? Is it some registered farmers who do planting for food and jobs, or I can just come and knock on the door, give me maize and fertilizer, I'm going to do planting for food and jobs?
One thing is extension farmers on the ground. We know farmers, every farmer, the opportunity is open to all the farmers in the country.
Okay.
All the farmers. We don't sideline anybody. So let's say, Nana, if you want to do a farm, you just come to our office and you are serviced.
There's no need to register?
Yeah, the registration too is going on. Last 2 or 3 years ago, government ordered us to go to Accra. They have given us a phone, Android phone, which we are using to register farmers, which we can use the same. We call it electronic agriculture. So, Felix, like this, I'm having one phone which we are using to register farmers. As soon as we register, the name goes to the bank. As soon as I register and I send, the name goes to a certain place, and they are also collating the data. So the registration is going on.
Now, but do you follow to monitor if, look, because these are improved seeds.
Yes.
So probably instead of putting, 5 in the ground, you only have to put 2 now because your chances are higher. I mean, are you following the farmers to make sure that, this is happening? Because the farmers are dotted all over. I mean, how are you doing that, Felix?
Yeah, Nana, extension officers are doing their best. But one important thing is extension officers in the country are also having their own problems. Logistics, we are not many. About many years ago, 5 years ago, extension officers has not been employed, and many has gone on retirement. So, Felix, like this, I'm taking in charge of 2 operational areas. And common mobility, that's motorbike to work with, it's a hindrance now. So we are having our own challenges. But in the nutshell, we are doing our best. We are doing our best.
Friends, let me have one more question before I come to studio. Are the farmers cooperating? Because some of the things you are saying sounds a bit technical. I mean, like digital registration and all this. All I want to do is just put corn in the ground and harvest it. I mean, are the farmers cooperating?
Yeah, I would say yes and no. Before you change a farmer, the primitive way, the way he was doing his things, if you want to change him, you have to demonstrate. Our work mostly depends on demonstration. And agric officer cannot use his meager salary to demonstrate. Let me put something across.
Okay.
If, let's say, I want farmer to refrain from his local seeds and maybe plant a certified seed which government has brought, you have to demonstrate the new seed government has brought with the old seed that is using. Maybe you have to go in for maybe half acre, then you block the acre, or you divide the acre, half acre into 2. You dress it nicely. Everything that you do, you call the farmers to come and have a look at it. Then that half acre, you plant half with their local seed, and the half the certified seed. Everything you do, you give everything equal treatment. So that at the end of the day, when everything matures, you call the same farmers to come and have a look at it. To realize that the certified seed has, produced maybe 10 times more than the local one they are using. So they will say, oh, let me start, using the certified seed. Do you get it?
Yeah.
So this demonstration must go on everywhere so that they will know that the new system has come. Let's use the new system. Let's use fertilizer for us, to harvest more, for us to increase our yield. government must support us to do demonstration. Government must, support us to, to reach farmers. But we are limited. Petty things are hindering us, our way of,
Okay, Felix, stay on there, and I'll come back and find out how it is you're reaching people, since you've already started complaining about mobility. So stay on there for me. But Edward, I mean, is this the situation on the ground? Does it reflect the situation?
First and foremost, the planting for food and jobs is not for every farmer. We have been told that only 200,000 farmers have been selected, and it is proper to select and deal with 200,000 farmers, or a certain number of farmers, to be able to assess the program very well. Because how many farmers are there in this country? Now, the fact that he is saying that, the extension officer is saying that, well, it is open to every person, then that also means that there's likely to be a gap between need and then supply. Because if they supply you as a seed, and then more farmers come later on and they want it, certainly you will have a shortage. But it's because, in order to make sure that they supply the quantity that the people need, it is confined to what? 200,000 farmers. And the 200,000 farmers are divided according to the regions and then districts, so that you can actually monitor the program and see how successful it is. You see, so I would be surprised that it is extending to everybody. And if that is the case, then of course, it is obvious that you will not be able to have enough seed and enough subsidized fertilizer to supply any person who wakes up and just comes to the office that I want subsidized fertilizer. I don't think we have that type of resources. Not to talk about the challenges that came along the line. You also recall that some of the fertilizers were being diverted. It came up on the media, we all saw it. That so the fertilizer that was meant for farmers actually did not get to them. But that is one of the challenges. So yes, that is why you have to reach that. I know people on the ground who had a cheat and they are registered. So they could buy a certain quantity of fertilizer in within the period. So if they do not need it and you need it, you will now have to go and buy the fertilizer in their name. So when you buy, they will credit or debit that person's account there with what you have bought, because you have to go in the name of that person. So if indeed it is meant for everybody, then of course we should have, it's obvious that there will be shortages, because you can't supply everybody within 1 year. I don't think government has got all these resources. The other thing is that they have supplied NPK and then urea, and then there are a number of companies that have been made to do that supply. Some of the fertilizers the farmers received, they said they were of poor quality. So farmers declined to use them, waiting for the right quality to come. And eventually the right quality didn't come. Then they had to revert to what they had already rejected. Eventually, that affects the yield too. You see? So these were also some of the challenges that actually came up with the implementation. Farmers have preferences. And which type of fertilizer do you take to their place? There are some of the companies or some of the fertilizers, to the farmers, they are of poor quality. Maybe they are not poor quality, but as he explained, if you are introducing the farmer to a new variety, then you have to demonstrate for them to know that, after all, the new variety is not inferior to the existing one. If that is not done, they will discriminate against the new variety. These were the challenges that also came up. And that, again, also overall affected the output that we are getting from the Plan for Food and Jobs.
If they are starting with 200,000, to see how the system works and everything, could that be the reason why there isn't that euphoria, as we should all buy into it. Maybe they are waiting to see, because that's, I mean, look, Felix is in my area, and I wasn't aware until now that you can, get some from the district assembly. And I think I'm a major stakeholder, and I should have, at least gotten wind of it.
Well, I will not begrudge government or the ministry for limiting to 200,000 farmers. You can't implement a policy to cover everybody, because there are challenges. There are, in fact, capital or logistics constraints. The country does not have all the resources to buy all the fertilizers, to buy all the seed, and then whoever wants should just come and pick at subsidized price. No, it doesn't have. So you need to limit it. And that is why you could see that in this year's budget, that is the 2018 budget, the ministry has increased the number from 200,000 to 500,000. Why they did that, I don't know. Because you need to first account for the 200,000 farmers that you have supported under the Planning for Food and Jobs to know whether it has been successful. And then from there, you now know how many farmers you can add to. But even before the year ended, even before the whole appraisal of the program is done, we have moved to support up to more than 150% increase. That is up to 500,000 farmers this year for 2018. So I don't think that it is wrong to have a certain number, because it's a project and you need to let people buy into it, and then it has some managerial, like the Minister of Agriculture itself. The existing extension officers are very few. Some of them are aged. Not to talk about the motorbikes that they have to take to that place. Not to talk about the fuel that they have to take to that place. They are poorly motivated by way of lack of logistics, allowances, and so on. Now, if you have to implement a program like this, you have to implement it in phases, whilst increasing the number of farmers that will be covered under the program. You also increase the extension officers.
I want to take a break, but let me quickly go to Felix. Hello, Felix.
Hello, Nana.
Since we started the program, I mean, do you know if any of them farmers have started harvesting?
Yes, please, Nana. Now we have harvested the major season already, and the minor season too. A majority of the farmers are now harvesting.
How are the rains for you this year in your catchment area?
Yeah, my catchment area, the rainfall pattern is quite okay. It's quite okay, but the area was faced with some challenges. We faced with armyworms. Yeah, armyworms was the major challenge we faced.
Oh, I see. You had some in the area?
Yes, please.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
So the planting for food guys in your area, the major season has been harvested and the minor season is yet to be harvested.
Yeah, some are harvesting and some are yet to be harvested.
Okay, so now let me hear the story about your motorbike. 1 minute.
Yes, sir.
So your motorbike, what's wrong with your motorbike?
My motorbike is 12 years old now. Always leads me on the way. It's serious. It's not helping me. So now, even if I'm going, I don't go with it. And Nana, one interesting is that, recently, better farms are in the hinterland because of development. Because of development, now farms are far away, where maybe cars cannot, move freely, unless motorbike. So our appeal, if extension, in fact, the work of the extension officers are very, 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 very paramount. We are holding the food basket in the nation. This fall armyworm I put across, it was first identified at Somenya by extension officer. Before the whole nation got the air of it. So our movement helps a lot. But if we are not mobile, it will, it will not make the work very interesting.
I think that's definitely a point. I'm going to take a quick break now, and when I come back, don't worry, I'll be lobbying for your motorbike for you.
Yes.
It's a very good extension of so I'll lobby for you. Don't stay tuned. We are coming straight back to see should we all join in or should we wait and see? We're coming back. Well, thank you very much for staying, and it's getting interesting. I have a message here from Samuel. Let me read it out to you. Samuel is a very, very good friend all the way in Walla Walla. Even though we haven't met, we talk a lot. From says, good evening. I am a physically challenged disabled farmer in my district. I'm basically in animal rearing and maize farming in small scale. I was the best disabled farmer in my district 2016. One thing I know for a fact is that our agricultural policies do not cater for persons with disability. For instance, I wish there was a national award scheme for PWDs just like we have for women. And this is Samuel in Wale Wale. Well, you have Edward here. I need to find out from you why you don't cater for people with disability. This one here is from Mr. Ochre, all the way in Koforidia, who says, ask Felix, we are into piggery at Impakadan. Who do we contact at the Sujamine for assistance? So, Felix, if you're listening, I'll get production to call you. Piggery in Impakadan, who do we contact for assistance? And there's a piggery in Dumasa too, so we can find out who do we ask for assistance. But before we come back to planting for food and jobs, I mean, disabled people who want to go into farming, there isn't much help, support for them.
Yeah, I think that is a general attitude of or character of our policies in this country. Many policies take little cognizance of disabled people when they are being rolled out. And the agricultural policies are not an exception. Even people who are not disabled, the policies are not so favorable for them. So it's an indictment on the way we design our policies. And if someone is disabled, it doesn't mean disability. The people must be catered for. The policy must take account of them. So what Felix did indicate is just the reality regarding our policies.
Well, you should bring a change. I mean, you're a dynamic
of course,
man. Yeah. So you should bring a change. But the policy, as in this planting for food and jobs, should we wait and see, or should we all buy into it now?
Well, if you buy into it, you have to take so many factors into consideration, because we are rational human beings, and then we'll be looking at, because there's cost to it, even though part of the cost is being catered for in the form of improved seed and then subsidized fertilizer. But there are other costs that are not there. Apart from that, you are looking at market. What is the current market now? According to our information on the ground, even the national the company which is supposed to buy the produce is buying less than the market price. When they are pricing maize around 104 cedis, the real market price is about 120 to 150. Which farmer would take his produce and sell to the national company? So
but
first,
easier, it saves you the hassle of waiting. You just upload it.
That is the point. So, but the fact is that you have anybody who has to buy into it will have to also look at where is the market, how you are going to sell it, and so on. Otherwise, at the end of the day, as an individual, you are a private investor, and private investors are quite rational.
You can be a private investor when you got subsidized seeds and subsidized fertilizer. After they harvest and you say, now I'm private. when you have all subsidized, you sell it back to whichever buffer company is buying from you.
You know, generally speaking, if you talk about subsidized improve, you are talking about all other factors being equal. But this year, the yield has not been good with the farmers, and there are different reasons. But one cannot say that the yield is not good for every farmer who has gone into the planting for food and jobs. But generally, the yield is not good. However, the number of acres that people have gone into has increased, you see. So we are still likely as a country to be able to hit a certain tonnage. But we are achieving that tonnage with increased acreage. But we are supposed to have hit that tonnage with existing acreage, or even more than that. That will mean that there is productivity. You have improved on productivity. But the productivity of the agriculture sector is not only about the availability of inputs, because when the inputs will come, what type of quality and so on. Look, some of the farmers had to initially, some of them resorted to using their local seed because the improved seed was not immediately available. And the planting season was going. So those farmers went in for that seed. Beyond that, you also saw what happened with the fall armyworm. That also again affected productivity generally. You know, there are some farmers who have escaped it. There are some farmers who have had total loss of their farms. There are some farmers who had minimal harm done to their farms. You know, so all these things are matters that you take care of. But what it is telling us is that we are getting a clarity that we are placing agriculture on the high pedestal. So if you're an investor and you look at your watch and you think that the government will continue with this program for the next 5 years, 10 years, you can begin to now look at the type of investment you have to make. For instance, you can go into seed production, you know, to be able to supply. But that will also depend on whether government will not import the seed as against you producing it here. Whether if you produce, government will immediately take it. It is possible that you can you produce and they will not pick it, and then there will still be imported seed.
With maize, the poultry farmers are always crying for maize. I mean, so could the excess go and feed them, or it's not the maize that they want?
Well, they need maize, but they also need some specified maize. The yellow maize is what they need most, but that doesn't mean they don't need the white maize. But again, you have to juxtapose that one with the imported maize. If the imported maize is cheaper, of course, they'll go in for the imported maize. Is government constraining imported maize because we have invested in maize production through the planting for food and jobs? If government is doing that, then of course, you can see that poultry farmers will go in for the local maize, and then the local maize producers will also have ready market. Otherwise, if government has not done that, then of course the imported maize will come to compete with the local maize. And if the imported maize is cheaper, then people are rational.
But at
they'll
this
go in
rate,
for the cheaper
probably
one.
get it cheaper, right? If planting for food and jobs, we'll flood the market with maize, and obviously demand and supply reduce the price and be able to face it. I mean, I'm just
yes,
that's what it looks like on paper.
That is what it looks like on paper, but in reality, it's not like that. That's what I'm saying. That first, if we are making an evaluation of the planting for food and jobs now, what are the realities on the ground? One, the rains. Some of them suffered low harvest because of the time that the rains are supposed to come. It did not come. Some did not get the right fertilizers. Some did not get the seed at the time that they wanted. Even if you get an improved seed and you plant late, then of course you will not still get the required yield. So all these factors, it will take time to, streamline them. So as it stands now, one cannot say that the planting for food and jobs will just flood the market with maize and other crops like rice and so on. No, it doesn't work that way.
Overall, what has been the success? 30%, 40%, 55, 60%. Overall, what has been the success?
Well,
and what's the major thing that has to be tweaked going to 2018? Well, coming into 2018.
The success is not yet fully known because as the extension officer also told us.
You hear the feedback from your union members?
Of course, and that's what the extension officer is also telling us, that for the minor season, they are still harvesting. So it is difficult to conclude what the yield will be. The main season had successes, but when you go to the northern part, which are the only one planting season, they planted it in phases too. Those who planted subsequently had their maize affected, because in September, when they were supposed to get water for tasseling.
What's the one thing that you think that need to be added to the policy? 30 seconds. What's just the one thing to be added to the policy?
What needs to be added to the policy is to have vigilance on the implementation, because the policy itself is good, but the implementation is the
vigilant.
Yeah, must be vigilant on that.
Well, thank you very much. But this year I hope to do a lot more agric, since that's our our stronghold. We do a lot more agric this year. Different phases of agric. We're going to piggery, poultry, all the aspects of agric to find out what it is we're doing right and continue doing it. Edward, thank you so much for coming in. And to you at home, thank you for watching. As I always say, tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you very much for watching.